Okay, we're going beyond a few minutes, guys. As a matter of fact, in 30 seconds. Welcome to winter. Good evening. It's 7 o'clock here in northeast of the United States. This is the Tibet Center, Kunchab Tardaling, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in New York City and northern New Jersey. And this is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma, specifically Stages on the Path to Enlightenment. We're basing it on the Lamrim texts written by Tsongkhapa, completed in 1402, also supplementing it with the 21st century Lamrim in soon to be 10 volumes. We only working from the first one now, written by His Holiness with the assistance of Venerable Thupten Chudran. She edited it. If you have anyone for whom you want us to pray for who has passed away recently, put their names in the chat box. All the prayers we say are on the Tibet Center website in the FAQ section. Scroll down within that section to prayers. Any problems with the transmission, the sound, the picture, whatever, not the Dharma transmission, that's somebody else's problem. Please text me or Mr. Smith. So we'll start. Prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the nine fallacious, three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teaching flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West, for all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them. May all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception in transcendent knowledge. The mantra is proclaimed, Tayato Om Gate Gate Paragate Parastam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. So refuge and bodhisattva vow, which we repeat 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings endures, sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. I'm still thinking of the old version. Anyway, so tonight we'll continue where we left off last night in New York City. We're in the parsonage, the place we own, Tibet Center owns, in South Orange, New Jersey. And this is the place in New York City we rent, and it's a bare classroom, which is good. And looks like the military installation. Their rooms are always bare. So, but here we have a full shrine with our teacher, Chungla Rato Rinpoche, whose rebirth we eagerly await. And it's a library upstairs, so we'll talk about it later when I invite you to come on Saturday. Meanwhile, we're working from His Holiness's Modern Lamrim, I'm calling it. This volume is called Approaching the Buddhist Path. I always put the book up front. You get a picture of the Buddha. Very nice. It's the first of to be 10 volumes. 9 are already out. It's a modern presentation of the stages of the path, including inputs from the other Buddhist traditions, the Pali the tradition, Japanese, Chinese, etc. So it's a good survey of Course in Buddhism at the same time as its stages of the path to enlightenment teaching, a graded stage teaching. The 10th volume will be on Tantra, so it goes beyond the traditional Lamrim. That's not out yet. That'll be out like a year from now, so I'm told. I don't know. Anyway, we're talking about, and this is the section, mind and emotions. What His Holiness is doing is prepping your mind to be able to practice the Lamrim. You have to take care of a lot of homework internally before these teachings make more sense to you, before your mind is calmed sufficiently to start to really absorb these teachings so they'll be of more value to you. And of course, this is the Mahayana value to everyone else, because as you learn, you help the whole world, since your motivation should be, at least not now, maybe not now, but when you get midway through the Lamrim teachings, should be bodhicitta, wishing to become a Buddha to benefit others. That's it. Enough said. So we're talking about the benefits of compassion last night, and we left off on page 58 of this volume. I understand it's also an ebook, so those who don't like to carry around books, you can have it downloaded to your device, whatever it is. Okay, compassion, some of the benefits. You know what? I'll repeat the last paragraph leading into this because it's very good advice. His Holiness says learning how to consciously direct our thoughts in a more positive way is essential for counteracting afflictive mental states. Repeating anger is awful, may it disappear. Compassion is so wonderful. I wish I had it. It isn't sufficient to transform our minds. You're just sloganizing. You're just repeating stuff. You're not at a demonstration screaming. That doesn't work. We're trying to bring about internal transformation. Praying, Buddha, please inspire me to be compassionate, or Buddha, please get rid of my afflictions, without our cultivating the cause, that won't work either. His Holiness being very direct. To be free of our anger, we must contemplate the kindness of others and train our mind in forgiveness and love by practicing the meditations that evoke these virtuous emotions. There are techniques to bring them up. Okay? While thinking about the value of compassion and requesting inspiration to develop it are useful, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's not bad. The real work is to contemplate the benefits of compassion and then practice the series of meditations to generate. What are the benefits? What's in it for me? Oh, a lot. So in our daily lives too, His Holiness goes, and we must repeatedly bring compassion to mind when we interact with others so that it becomes habitual. And he says now, here's the benefits of compassion. Compassion broadens the scope of our mind and makes it more accepting and inclusive of others. Number one. Destructive emotions such as attachment and anger usually focus on one person or one class of people, whereas compassion can be extended to all living beings. It's not restrictive. Okay? The object of compassion, of our compassion, doesn't need to be someone we have met, because we already know that everyone wants to be free of suffering and seeks happiness. We don't have to delineate this. Everyone is that way. That's a universal. That's a given. That's a base on which to start to justify these meditations. Everybody wants happy. Even the person who starts shooting people is upset and thinks that'll make him happy. So everyone goes on that basic motivation. We do. That's it. So it's continued. When our mind is unhappy, compassion and love uplift us. The best offering to make to all the Buddhas is to abandon harming others physically, verbally, or mentally. Unlike afflictive emotions, virtuous mental states do not have self-grasping ignorance as a support. So cultivating the wisdom that overcomes ignorance won't harm our virtuous emotions. Virtuous emotions don't rely on ignorance, as this. They rely on the true nature of reality. So, if anything, it will eliminate obstacles to generating them. If we really care about ourselves, we will generate an altruistic intention because it gives us encouragement, enthusiasm, resilience, and a good heart. So a wisely selfish person is altruistic. That's what's in it for you. Habituating ourselves to constructive perspectives is one of the purposes of the gathas, or short phrases used in the mind training practice. The gathas, he's calling it gathas. I thought gathas meant something, but we'll leave it alone. For example, while cleaning the dishes or washing the car, we think, I am cleansing away my defilements and those of other sentient beings. When going upstairs, I will lead all sentient beings to awakening. And when going downstairs, think, I am willing to go to suffering abodes to benefit sentient beings. In this way, neutral, everyday actions are transformed into the path to awakening. And you don't have time to practice. You got to do these things anyway. So think about it. This is a real thing, because Venerable Vreeland, Tuptinland, our teacher here, Nikki we call him, cleans the room here, his room upstairs, and cleans the house as much as every day. And that's a ritual he does in the morning. He does it cleansing, and he does, thinks out in his mind. He's thinking, getting rid of delusions, cleaning it out to invite the higher beings. But that's something they all do. So you got to do it anyway. You can think of a lot of everyday tasks that can be transformed with just the right motivation. Some afflictions, His Holiness goes on, are destructive emotions that are counteracted by generating opposing emotions. In other words, here's an example. For example, to counteract anger and hatred, we meditate on love. Okay, a specific antidote to a specific affliction. Other afflictions are distorted attitudes and wrong views. They are counteracted by seeing that the object they apprehend is false. You made it up. It's not that way. For example, the ignorance that grasps true existence is counteracted by the wisdom realizing the emptiness of true existence. Okay, you got more or less. Okay. Imagination may be used as a skillful means. Now, this is very important. Imagination may be used as a skillful means to counteract harmful emotions. For example, as an antidote to lust, the Abhidharma prescribes meditating on the universe being filled with bones. Although the universe isn't actually brimming with bones, by having us contemplate the inside of the body, this technique works to eliminate obsession with sex. In cultivating loving kindness as an antidote to anger, we may imagine others being happy. And when cultivating compassion, we may reflect on their suffering. Now, here's a kicker. Scientists have noticed that when we imagine a situation, the same area of the brain is activated as when we actually experience that situation. This supports the Buddhist view of the usefulness of imagination in developing wholesome, balanced mental states. Science and Buddhism have agreed on this point. I often tell you that when meditators' brains are looked at with these techniques, when they tell them to meditate on compassion, these are seasoned meditators. Meditate what lights up the motor section of the brain, the section of the brain that says, let's do something. Not the section, interesting. His Holiness continues, applying an antidote may initially make us feel deflated, but this is not detrimental. For example, when we are arrogant, making the mind more sober is beneficial, especially if you picked out the arrogance right away. One of our problems, we don't see these things until it's too late. We're in it already. You have to be nimble and train yourself so that you see these afflictions coming up at the point where you can still knock them out. That takes practice. However, we are depressed. Deflating our mood is not useful. Of course not. We must evaluate our mental states, first determining if a destructive emotion is present or not. This is the real work. This is Buddhism. And if so, then choosing an appropriate antidote. A lot of practitioners did nothing but watch their mind. Their mind, read this, memorize that. Yeah, they did that too, but watch your mind. In short, we learn to become doctors to our own mind, diagnosing our mental ailments, selecting the correct Dharma medicine, and then skillfully applying the medicine. And you don't have to wait for an appointment. You don't sit in the waiting room and then another room. No, you're the doctor to your own mind. Are we having problems, Darren?
No, we're fine.
Oh, was that? Okay, good. So I hear him on the phone. I think the worst. See? His Holiness continues on page 60. Working with afflictive emotions requires a two-pronged approach. 2. Managing unwholesome emotions and stopping actions motivating them are important components, but they don't resolve all problems. We also need to cultivate wholesome emotions. That's the two-prong, offensive, defensive. Okay? Put it that way, football terms. Although we may not initially be able to call upon these positive emotions in the heat of the moment, you bet you can't. Believe me, I know. Gradually and diligently cultivating them in our meditation practice affects our temperament and influences our emotional patterns. In other words, you're not going to be riled by them when they come up. If you vaccinate yourself, make yourself immune to these things, not when the issue is there. These things are not immediate band-aids. These things are like vaccines, as I always say, to prepare us. So, and the mind is more supple. We can see them coming. That's how it works. It doesn't happen instantly. I wish it did. I beg that it does, but it doesn't. So you have to be patient and apply the techniques over a period of time. But as soon as you start, you don't realize that there's a subtle difference. So that I found out a little bit, The more familiar we are with beneficial emotions, the less susceptible we are to harmful emotions. Developing constructive emotions similar to bolstering our immune system is a good comparison. Cultivating love strengthens our emotional immunity to anger. Developing compassion prevents cruelty. Joy opposes jealousy, and equanimity averts bias due to attachment, anger, and apathy. That's a brilliant piece of writing right there, those things. I'll do it again. I'll mention it again. Cultivating love strengthens our emotional immunity to anger. Developing compassion prevents cruelty. Joy opposes jealousy. And equanimity averts bias due to attachment, anger, and apathy. Okay? Reflecting on the benefits of having a particular wholesome emotion invigorates our efforts to develop it. We know it's good for us. We see a good thing. Of course, we want more. For instance, if we contemplate the benefits of seeing sentient beings as lovable and imagine the good feeling that will derive from that, we will happily meditate on their kindness. Get used to it. Be familiar with it. It does work. I haven't fully understood it, but I see a little ripple of how this can benefit you. Takes the edge off things, if nothing else. This will cause feelings of gratitude and appreciation for others to arise naturally in our mind. You don't force these things to come up naturally. You apply the cause, you get that effect, get that result. Right? To see the advantages of certain practice, we can ask ourselves, what is disrupting my inner contentment? Yeah. You know when you don't feel good, all right, what's the cause of this? Go in there and clean house. We then see the negative emotions as the culprits and want to oppose them. I'm angry. I can't stand that person. I'm jealous. Oh, that's why I feel like crap. Yeah. So you work that out internally. With this determination, His Holiness says, we will seek the methods to counteract those disturbing emotions and diligently practice these methods. So he's asked questions. There's a reflection part. It's like a little bit of a quiz, pop quiz. So I'll mention it, but you don't have to answer. He's saying, how can you differentiate a destructive emotion from a constructive one? Do you know how to do that when you examine your mind? That's a technique in itself, and be surprised. Second, what are the benefits of subduing disturbing emotions and cultivating wholesome ones? Well, this you can imagine. This is not rocket science. Third, review the methods to subdue each disturbing emotion and cultivate each wholesome one. Yes, you have to review these. You have to become familiar, to oppose hatred with love, oppose jealousy with joy. So get familiar with that. It's not hard, and it's free of charge. Pardon me, I'm getting horse-lipped, as they say out west. Cultivating love and compassion. Cue the violins. Cue the kazoos when I come on. Anyway, here we are. His Holiness on page 61 says, to generate beneficial emotions such as loving kindness and compassion for all sentient beings, we must first have a correct understanding of these emotions. What are they anyway? Not just the Hollywood version or the current parlance meaning of them. What are they? He's going to tell us. The love and compassion we cultivate in our spiritual practice should not be confused with the ordinary love and compassion we feel for our dear ones, which is usually grounded in self-referential considerations. Nice phrase. We've had it before. Very good. Self-referential considerations. Okay. This person is my friend, my spouse, my child, my parent, my parole officer. No. My parent, and so on. While such love may be very strong, it is tainted with attachment because it is partial toward those who please us and biased against those who displease us. You may dispute that, but underneath it's subtle. It's not like, I love this one, I don't. That doesn't mean I hate you. I do. No. But think about it. It's somewhat corrupt. It's good. Love for the parent of a child. Come on, what's wrong with that? But that's not what we're made for. We can actually broaden that feeling to everyone. That's what Buddhism is saying. That's Buddhist's point of view. As we have seen, once we are attached to someone, the stage is set for us later to be angry at them when they fail to meet our expectations, fulfill our needs, or do what we want. Okay? That explains a lot of the teenagers rebelling against their parents' part, or everything else. Once we this is very good advice. Once we are attached to someone, the stage is set to later be angry at them when they fail to meet our expectations, fulfill our needs, or do what we want. What's wrong with that statement? Well, once there's attachment, it's a misjudge. Person may not be as beautiful and clean and perfect as we think, and we love them, but then all of a sudden they do something we don't like. Okay, if we were overly attached, you're going to get this kickback from that. Instead, the love and compassion we have should be equanimous. He'll explain. The love and compassion we seek to cultivate in Dharma practice is based on having an equal-hearted sense of concern for all beings, all, right? Simply because they exist. You don't need a reason, no, because I know him, I don't know him, or whatever, etc. And they want happiness and not suffering just as we do. Darren, I got that block again. I'm going to try and get rid of it. I don't know if it's ruining the picture, but let me hit it. Okay, I got rid of it. Just because they exist and they want happiness the same way and not suffering just like us. That's the only reason you need that. He's my friend. He's the same race as me. He likes fast cars, so do I, blah, blah, blah. You don't need it. Equanimity to all. People don't look like you, whatever. Enough said. His Holiness continues. Let me let him speak. Even if we understand the meaning of genuine construction emotions, we may doubt that it is possible to develop them. Sounds good, but seems a little unnatural. We must remember that the seeds of constructive emotions are naturally in our mind stream, and when cultivated, they will increase. We've assessed ourselves wrong. We have Buddha nature. Duh. Yeah, that's what Buddhism is telling us. They're telling us like we're poor people and are starving and struggling and don't realize we have a multi-billion-dollar gem underneath our house. Just dig it up or whatever. We have a lot of gold we don't know about, whatever. It takes a Buddha to point that out. This is what you really are. Hello? Oh. So everything becomes easy, His Holiness says, with familiarity. That's Shantideva says the same thing. And positive emotions are no exception. Shantideva said everything that's difficult becomes easier with familiarity. But here, His Holiness says, and positive emotions too are no exception. They become stronger and stronger the more you're familiar with them. What is familiarity? It's another word for meditation. Being habituated towards it, being close to it, familiar. All right? His Holiness continues. We're on page 61 in case you might have gotten the book. When we have the confidence that it is possible to develop positive emotions, we make the effort to do so. So right now, if we don't want to do it, investigate. Are we blocked because we think it's not possible? Could be. So that's the point when you review, wait a minute. I'm not who I think I am. I have Buddha nature. I and all beings are going to become Buddhas totally. It's only a matter of time and technique. So you boost yourself that way with that kind of thought. At this point, we engage in the meditations to cultivate equanimity to start with, and to see others as kind. That precedes the actual cultivation of love and compassion. First, you prep the mind with equanimity. These things take time, but as soon as you start, they're beneficial. Meditation on equanimity enables us to go beyond the limitations of our judgmental attitude. Equanimity helps us to go beyond the limitations of our judgmental attitude that classifies people as friends, enemies, and strangers, and elicits the emotions of attachment, animosity, and apathy. You want to live with those characters? Let's get rid of them. So, by seeing that everyone is just like us in a certain way, they don't look like us, they may be young or older, but in a certain way, everyone is just like us in wanting happiness and not suffering. Equanimity sets the stage for cultivating love and compassion for all beings, no matter what they believe or how they treat us. Big point. That's what saints do. That's what Buddhist practitioners do when they're in the full practice mode. Okay. We then cultivate the sense that others are lovable, which is done by remembering their kindness to us. This is a whole book in itself, but he'll briefly reflect. You'll get this echoing again through the volumes that come. Here we reflect not just on the kindness of friends and family, but on the kindness of all those who do their various jobs in society that enable us to have what we need. You want to buy things in the store, someone brought it there, someone made it, blah, 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 blah. We can't survive without all this. No. We also reflect on the kindness of those whose disruptive actions challenge us to develop forgiveness, patience, and fortitude. Boom. That's a rough one, but it's the truth. You can't develop patience when somebody's always nice to you. So come to Tibetan and we'll teach you how to develop patience. It happens naturally. There's no course. His Holiness continues. Page 62. We now turn our attention to the expansive keyword love we seek to develop in our spiritual practice. Imagine if we had it. That's the look on the face of a lot of these spiritual people that inspire us. They have it. This love is a simple wish for others to have happiness and its causes. Visualizing a variety of people, extend this wish to them and imagine them having happiness and its causes. You'd look real good if you did this meditation. You'd welcome beings with an open face. His Holiness remarks, it's not anything that's universal, limited to Buddhism. His Holiness met this Christian monk that was a hermit for many years, and he saw something in his eyes, and right away he says, what have you been doing all these years in solitude? He said, meditating on love. And His Holiness says, I saw it. I was very impressed. Anyone can do this, even non-believers. This is the modern secular ethics element in His Holiness presentation. It runs throughout all these chapters. This love is the simple wish for others to have happiness and its causes. That's it. That's the technical meaning of it in Buddhism. Visualizing a variety of people, extend this wish to them and imagine them having happiness and its causes. Okay? You can even imagine you causing that. As a bodhisattva, I'll make them happy. Whatever they need, I'm going to bring to them. Look at that. They're happy. You imagine this. You imagine. Okay? Remember, the brain is conditioned by that imagination, the same way as if you did it. So, visualize a variety of people, extend this wish to all of them, imagine them having happiness in its causes. Having done this, cultivate compassion then. First, you give them everything, and then cultivate compassion, wishing them to be free of suffering and its causes. This is the Tonglen. Except it's in reverse. In Tonglen, you take the suffering from us first, and then you give them happiness so they can accept. But it doesn't matter. Do this with a few individuals to begin with, and then generalize it to groups of people, and finally to all living beings. People you meet, etc. You know, you don't know, and then all living beings. Slowly, you could do this. Look for the feeling to come up, first with people you know. The real feeling comes. Hold that feeling as best you can. Don't be stiff about it. Take your time. That's very nice. And then generalize it to groups of people. All the people in my class, all the people at my job, etc. A lot of New Yorkers I know look around the subway car and try to generate anyone in that car. Maybe 50, 60 people in the car sometimes when it's packed. That's the thing that makes the ride more pleasant. You think it's an imagination. You know, they walk off, they're just as nasty as they came in, but never mind. You're developing your mind at this point. Eventually, you will be a person that can deliver. They say. You know, I haven't realized this, but they say, and I believe them. So, with reason. Do this few individual, etc. Okay, initially, His Holiness said, the feelings of impartial love and compassion that arise in the depths of our heart will only last a short while. Yeah, our minds are that way. At this level, they are still contrived in that we have to make effort to experience them. Yes, you have to push it. However, the big however now, through habituation, and this is the cause, through habituation, the time will come when as soon as we see even a small insect, feeling of love and compassion will arise spontaneously and effortlessly. This new experience manifests as a result or an effect of having made an effort over a long period of time. Cause and effect, okay? Such mental transformation brings about an enduring change in our moods and emotions. I remember one time Ricochet and I think Marcus, were visiting our friend Marjorie, who's the one business person who started the Tibet Center years ago. She was in a nursing home. So we ordered sandwiches, we brought them in, and we went downstairs, because you can eat in a room, to this courtyard that was in the nursing home in New York City, in the middle of the city, buildings, cement everywhere and everything. And we're sitting there eating, and out of this sewer grate comes this horrible looking insect. And I went like this, everyone went like that. Ricochet was eating his sandwich. Oh, should give meat? Boom, threw it down at the end, just like that. And I realized he didn't have to work at it, feeling simple. This thing looked like it was struggling, no matter what it looked like. Everyone was recoiling. He took a piece of meat from his sandwich, threw it there. And we all edged away, but I did anyway. I don't know. There's a big proof that lifetimes of thinking this way have its effect. You just react. Strange story to tell. It's not Hollywoodish, but I was there and it did happen. And the spontaneity with which he reached out to that horrible looking creature from our point of view was amazing. It gives you confidence. So scientists, as Holiness goes on, scientists and Buddhists agree that habituation is necessary for long-lasting change in our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors to occur. When we practice something repeatedly, it becomes part of our temperament. Buddhists describe this as a process of habituating ourselves with new emotional responses. We could do this. Everything is not set and inherently existing, which we think it is. Everything is in flux. Everything can be affected by everything. So that's where the emptiness element is woven through all of this. Okay? Scientists explain this as building up new neural pathways in the brain. You imagine compassion, you have new neural pathways in the brain. All right, that's their way of describing it. Good, that's nice. When a certain pathway associated with an emotion is well lubricated, the emotion arises more easily. And Buddhism is saying the same thing. You habituate, it's going to come up. All right. He's always invoking scientists because this day and age, they're the priests. They're the ones that everybody runs to for the final word, or a lot of people. Except right-wing Republicans. Maybe it looks like I should shut up about this and say that. But anyway, a lot of people don't believe. But scientists seem to be the final authority on a lot of things. So he brings in their point of view, and it's very interesting. Let him continue. Tony, shut up. Okay, I will. He continues the last paragraph in this section. Although Buddhism emphasizes cultivating love and compassion for others, we must not neglect ourselves. This is a serious technique. It's not being a slob and self-indulgent. It's a specific way of helping yourself. The happiness of others is one of our goals, so we must take care of ourselves so that we will have the physical energy and the mental clarity to benefit them. Physical energy and mental clarity to benefit them. So watch yourself and take care of your body. Whoops, excuse me. If we ignore our own welfare, no one will be able to benefit. Not only will we be unable to benefit others, they will have to take care of us. So you don't want to be a burden on others. Okay. So his advice here is just follow the steps for cultivating love and compassion explained above. Make your contemplation personal. Yes, people who actually know, you start off with wishing them love, wishing to take their suffering. The people at work, the guy in the corner, whatever, the newspaper, the bodega stand, or wherever you buy things. Second, enjoy the expansive feeling in your heart as you release anger and judgment and allow unbiased affection to arise. Could you imagine that right now? Releasing anger and judgment and just allow unbiased affection to arise. I think you get quite a rush. Something you don't have to stand on the corner and buy something for. So a good state of mind is the next section. I'm really emphasizing this because this preps our mind to understand some of the heaviest stuff, which I'll go to in a second. Just a taste from Geshe Sopa. A good state of mind is the title of this section, page 63. The calmer our mind, the easier it will be to deal with problems. That's true. All right? Don't be like me and freaking out every time something happens. The calmer your mind, Nikki does. Tony, calm down. Yeah, I'm the worst offender here. It's easy to be it will be easier to deal with problems. Rather than wait for a crisis and then search for a way to handle it, we should practice open-mindedness and kindness on a daily basis. What? Okay. Then when problems or even traumatic events occur, their impact will be less severe and we'll be able to return to a balanced state of mind more quickly. On the other hand, if we indulge our bad moods, we'll feel overwhelmed when even small unpleasant effects occur. So he's making a connection between a calm, loving mind and a mind that's indulging in greed and anger and all this in terms of their ability to face trauma, mental trauma, event trauma, whatever. This is interesting. Tibetans have a motto: hope for the best and prepare for the worst. You know, we all have that. My mother's motto was hope for the worst and be upset when it doesn't happen. So used to, I don't know. That's a joke. I hope. The main preparation, His Holiness says, is to let go of the self-centered attitude that magnifies our own problems and to cultivate compassion for ourselves and others. You got it? Here's the key. The main preparation is to let go of the self-centered attitude that magnifies our own problems. Oh, my boss. Oh, my house. Oh, and to cultivate compassion for ourselves and others. Take a broader view. Compassion is naturally broad. When difficulties arise, look at them from a broad perspective. It's useful that way. Concentrating on my problems brings more frustration and unhappiness, while recollecting that everyone faces difficulty puts mine in perspective. Yeah, you're not the only one. Join the club. We're in samsara. That's natural. That's what happens in samsara, to you and to everybody else in it. To me, we could all tell our stories. Crappy boss, the terrible car, the weather. So, in addition, His Holiness says, if we see difficult circumstances as a challenge to rise to our potential and as the rise to our potential, rather, and as an opportunity to call forth our compassion, we'll be more effective in managing a stressful situation and contributing something useful to it. In this way, our life will be worthwhile and our mind will be relaxed and open. So there are people who look at these things as a challenge. You don't have to be heroic about it, but we have the tools. We have the philosophical background. It's been presented to us. Do your best. You know, I'm not one that looks for these things as a challenge. I'll be honest with you. I'm glad to get through them. But having this information in our mind stream is very helpful. The limited way I have it has helped me somewhat. I'm still around. That's a big point. In the next few sections, His Holiness says, we will discuss some mental states and situations that people frequently see as troublesome. Fear, depression, acceptance, comparing ourselves with others, and disagreement and conflict. Well, there's a nice salad, huh? Nice buffet. And ways to train our minds to address them effectively. So fear, depression, acceptance, comparing ourselves with others, and disagreement and conflict. These are all the things in life that can throw us around the ring, boom, bang, boom, that we have to be able to handle so that we can then sit down with a text, cultivate our minds so we can be a benefit to others, optimum benefit to others. Okay? So I think we'll leave it at that because I do want to get to some of the hardcore lamrim, but we'll do it through commentary tonight. We're on the chapter called Valid Establishment. And it's the big argument between Madhyamikas and others. Others think that ultimate truths are the only reality, and its conventional truths are total ignorance. They really, they're not valid, blah, 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 blah. So here we're going to Valid Establishment, the title of the chapter. I'm working from the commentary right now because we did a little bit of the taste of the root text. So here's Geshe Sopa's presentation of the argument. There are certain early Tibetans who consider themselves Madhyamikas, yet they do not accept the existence of conventional things because they believe that visible forms and so on are not established by any type of valid knowing. Their idea of valid is only the equipoise of emptiness. That's all. That's wrong. Our normal consciousnesses are also valid for a certain sphere of information. I made that complicated. I shouldn't. Let Geshe Sopa tell it better. Visible forms and so on are not established by any type of valid knowing because conventional knowing is not valid to them, whether ultimate or conventional. Regarding the first, they say that anything established by ultimate valid knowledge is a truly existent thing, and there's no such thing as truly existent, but let them have their fun thing. That is able to withstand ultimate analysis and can be found to exist from its own side. That's their idea of ultimate analysis. They missed the boat, totally. But when we engage in ultimate analysis, we find nothing existing from its own side. In finding the absence, we find emptiness. That doesn't mean the thing is not valid and not there. Thus, ultimate valid knowledge only establishes emptiness. It does not establish conventional things. So conventional, ultimate things and conventional things are understood by two types of consciousness. We have them both. The ultimate consciousness looking for inherent existence and not finding it, that's emptiness. That's, what do they call that? Ultimate analysis, we could say. And then the conventional valid things, everyday, non-inquisitive about the mode of being of the object, just accepting it as it is. And of course, there's an analysis in that, as we said last night. Is this a better car than that? Is a better computer than that? We're analyzing, it's in there, but we're just not looking into the mode of being of the thing. You say, I just bought a computer, you'd say, what kind? Well, yeah, how much? What did it cost? Oh, yeah, it's good. Yeah, I could do this or that. Someone doesn't ask, is it inherent existence? It's not there, right? Nobody talks that way. We discussed this last night. If conventional things were established by ultimate knowledge, then it would be truly existent. In other words, existing from their own side, not relying on anything, not contingent on anything, blah, blah, blah. You heard it all. Truly existent things are not accepted in the Madhyamika system. There's no such thing. Truly is, you could use it as a synonym for inherent. Okay. Regarding the second, these earlier scholars say that conventional knowledge, sense consciousness, or ordinary mental consciousness is not valid knowledge at all. It is in its own worldly way. It's correct. And it's very valid. We'll make the point now. Only a direct realization of shunyata is valid knowledge, according to these idiots, okay? Although conventional things are the objects of sense consciousnesses and can be established relatively, they are not established by valid knowledge. Therefore, because conventional things cannot be established by valid knowledge, these scholars say that we cannot accept them, except that they exist. They're wrong. That's a totally wrong thing. They claim that this is what the Buddha means when he says the eye, ear, nose consciousnesses are not valid knowledge. He's talking valid knowledge in terms of ultimate mode of being, but they're valid in terms of the world. Shh, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone here. They claim that this is what Buddha meant when he said the eyes. Okay. They also question how other Madhyamikas can take the position that valid knowledge establishes visible forms and so on, because Chandrakirti says ordinary knowing is always invalid. He meant it specifically, but Sankapa says that Chandrakirti is only denying the validity of conventional consciousnesses, such as visual consciousness, with respect to the ultimate nature of reality, emptiness. Of course. If our ordinary eyes saw the ultimate reality, we wouldn't have to study to develop realization of emptiness. No, that's what he meant. So again, context is so important. He does not mean that conventional consciousness is not valid with respect to any object whatsoever. Chandrakirti's commentary on the introduction to the middle way says, yes, what does he say? He says, in that case, only areas are valid with respect to contemplating reality. Only those who saw emptiness directly. Non-areas are not, so we don't know anything about reality. Why is this so? If wanting to employ ordinary refutation, you accept that ordinary perception is valid even with regard to analyzing reality, then consider. If ordinary knowing were valid, it would see reality. But it doesn't. It just sees worldly things, which are fine, Then what need would there be for an exalted knowing, another exalted knowing? What need would there be for a special insight that probes the mode of being of something? Wouldn't have it. We already see it. You don't need a Buddhist path. What would the exalted path achieve? Indeed, it is wrong for obscured knowing to be valid. Chandrakirti's words, only Aryas are valid, Geshe Sopa says, does not mean that Aryas, the people themselves, are valid knowledge. It means that their direct realization of the ultimate is a valid knowing of emptiness. Boom. Also, when the text says that non-Aryas are not valid, it means ordinary perception is not valid knowledge of emptiness. Of course not. I have ordinary perception. I don't see emptiness. Bong. That's all. This whole argument is all about that. I think they spent too much time in the library. I don't know. We'll see. I'm being nasty. Chandrakirti's subsequent commentary on the above stands in commentary on the introduction to the middle way says, it would be fruitless to hear, contemplate, and meditate on the Dharma, or train in ethical discipline and so on in order to realize the supreme path, because mere visual consciousness and so on would understand realities. Oh yeah, you think that? So then, here's the result of that. Here's the consequences of having that thought. Well, then everybody would see ultimate reality. Everyone doesn't. This is not the case. Therefore, because ordinary knowing is always invalid, there is no ordinary refutation with regard to reality. So ordinary knowing is always invalid. There is no ordinary refutation with regard to reality. Invalid with regard to shunyata. Okay. With respect to shunyata, only Aryas knowledge is valid, Geshe Sopa says. Okay. Respect to shunyata. Only a noble being knows it. But before becoming an Arya, an ordinary individual develops an understanding of shunyata by means of analyzing the ultimate based on valid reasoning. Ordinary mind, seeing ordinary things dualistically, studying logic, blah, blah. This is inferential knowledge of shunyata, not direct perception, which is non-dualistic, okay? I hate to use that word, but you'll hear it again, so get used to it. In this passage, the valid knowledge understanding shunyata that is under discussion is direct valid knowledge. Boom. Inferential valid knowledge is not direct because it's somewhat dualistic. Okay, that's nothing wrong with that. So even though valid knowing can be divided into direct perception and inference, inferential valid knowing is not considered here. No, we're talking about the real experience. Okay. In general, Geshe Sopa says on page 153, this is Lamrim 5 of his commentary. He has a 5-volume commentary on the Lamrim. He's midway between the traditional and the modern. His Holiness is very 21st. This is these books that he wrote are more or less rewritings of his classes that he held at the University of Wisconsin. So he's talking to Western students. So he's a lot more modern than KHAPA'S text. Of course, he's 600 years later. But he's midway. He's still traditional, follows word by word, etc. Then you have His Holiness's rearranging things and setting ourselves up differently than the traditional text, but it's reaching the same point. It's a masterpiece, these 9 volumes. Mwah. In general, the Madhyamika system accepts conventional knowledge. Yes. Madhyamikas admit that ordinary sense consciousnesses validly perceive their appropriate objects, the color, shape, sound, and so on. But if they were to accept that sense consciousness says validly perceived ultimate reality, then the above criticism would apply. But we don't accept it that they see ultimate reality. So don't yell at us for that. Get out of here. What need would there be to train in the Arya path, okay? If ordinary conventional knowledge were valid with respect to reality, then what would be the point of doing all kinds of difficult practices to reach the exalted Arya stage? If visual consciousness already see emptiness, then why bother to practice ethics, generosity, and so on? However, ordinary conventional knowledge is never valid with respect to shunyata. Valid everywhere else, though, okay? When Chandrakirti says there is no ordinary refutation with regard to reality, he means that ordinary valid knowing can never negate ultimate reality. Although sense consciousness is not valid with respect to reality, they are valid with respect to ordinary things. Okay, very easy. In short, ordinary valid knowing applies when analyzing conventional things. Conventional knowing perceives visible forms, sounds, smells, and so on to be real. They are in a certain way. When we understand the true nature of these objects by means of ultimate valid knowledge, we will see that they lack inherent existence and do not exist as they appear. But as long as they're existing, then we go along we're fine. Okay. Nevertheless, our conventional understanding knows things at a conventional level, and this does not contradict ultimate reality. So we will, let's see, we have time. No, one more quote. He quotes, he's talking about the 60 stanzas of reasoning, Nagarjuna's book. Seeing the mere existence of those things is not seeing shunyata. You see the mere existence. I see, maybe you see shunyata, but I don't in your other consciousness that you generate. For this very reason, Buddha said the eye, ear, and nose consciousness is not valid knowledge with regard to ultimate reality. That's all. Hey, I'm really boring you, right? I know. He quotes the king of concentration. You might hear this text: the eye, ear, nose consciousness is not valid knowledge. They mean with regard to ultimate reality. The tongue, body, and mental consciousness are also not valid knowledge. If these sense consciousnesses were valid knowledge, of what use to anyone would the Arya path be? That's from Samadhi Raja Sutra, which they quote, and we will leave it at that. And I will have to mark the page, 154. Okay. So for whom will we pray? Any names? Okay, so just, I don't see any. I have a little chat box here. I don't know how to scroll up in it, but it looks pretty good. No, I can't scroll on it. All right. Oh boy. I think I knocked it off, Darren. Are we going? Noble three jewels. I prostrate to the omniscient one. Thus the Buddha Bhagavata Tathagata Arahat, Samyak Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit, does not waste the roots of virtue. Oh, I thought you were watching. Doesn't waste the roots of virtue. He's completely ornamented with all patience. He's the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandha. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavata, who lies in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavata. The Holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the Great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with flowing palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are filled with glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, the prostrate to the top of God. Pure, the cause of freedom, compassion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realm. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So our next class will be Tuesday night, the coming Tuesday, which is December 5th. Following that, uh, December 6th from the parsonage, the next Wednesday. However, this Saturday here at the parsonage in South Orange, we have our White Tower presentation. Saturday, December, where are you? December 2nd at 1 o'clock. The White Terrace on a presentation. We do it every other week. You all are welcome at 1 o'clock. Check it. That's on the website for the instructions. Aaron, could you help me get the picture back because I don't have it? I did something stupid. So used to the Mac. It's the wrong. Probably timed out. Yeah, was it talking about? Oh, you're on the wrong. On the wrong. So that's it. We got it. Thank you for your patient listening. We'll have a topic at time and try to mix it up. We'd love to all of you.